Matty Fresh on the track up at State. And I'm bringing to you live my boys Alec and Nate, Tequila Ty, Jay, Nelly, and Dylan in the building. So kick it back, pour the drink. We chillin' because I'm boozing and betting and ballin' like I'm 2-6 in the blue kicks. Watch me move quick. Yeah, this the blueprint. So who's getting involved? Welcome into the show. This is Booze, Bets, and Ball, baby.
Welcome back to Booze, Bets, and Ball. We are recording on a Monday afternoon. You might see this Tuesday. You might see this Monday night. I don't know yet. But, Nate, we have a lot of good things to talk about in this quick Penn State, Ohio recap before we get on to a more interesting game this coming up Saturday. But 46-10, the freshmen were all over the place. It was a good one. I mean, there's a lot to take away from it. I don't know where you want to start, but
well, I think the freshman running backs would be a great place to start. But before we do that, real quick, I mean, just 572 yards of offense, fantastic for Penn State. 6.9 yards per rush, which, oh my goodness! Like, and we talked about it last week, whether or not they could, whether this would be like a Ball State last year game. Against Ball State, they ran for 240 yards, so 234 this year, which is like almost identical. But the 7 yards of rush, and we'll talk about what Nick Singleton did, and even Katron Allen a little bit. It's like, I don't know, it's reminiscent of like 7 years ago when Saquon was a freshman. Not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but
no. But it did look like that at times with Singleton. I mean, just 10 carries, but 179 yards and 2 touchdowns. And we could compare him to Saquon. That's probably unfair. Saquon is obviously one of a kind, I think, with his ability to hurdle guys, catch passes, all the other stuff he did outside of running the ball. But it was almost reminiscent of kind of a Saquon game where there was a 70-yard run and then 2 runs of, I think, 45 and 48, something like that. And then you look and there's like a run for no gain, a run for -2.
Yeah.
It was kind of like a Saquon game that he used to have where it was just these big runs, save them. But I mean, he still averaged 17.9 yards per carry.
Yeah, and I did some analysis on this, and that's exactly what I thought. And that's exactly the same thing that people used to say about Saquon, is that he would break a huge one, but then you'd have a lot of negative plays. And so the team on 4 runs, so Singleton ran for 11, 70, 48, and 44, 2 touchdowns in that. That is great, right? Those 4 out of the 30 carries or 33 carries are great. But if you take that away, that's 74% of the yards on 12% of their carries. So you're never going to just like knock off 6.9 yards a clip very consistently, but also you don't want to play the lottery and have like a 1 in 30 chance or something. So of breaking one, right? But I am bolstered by the fact that he got 3 carries of over 40 yards. That is more than a lottery ticket, right? That's something a little bit more consistently than 1 in 20 or 1 in 30. So it's not great from a consistency standpoint, but it's also probably pretty damn good enough. And he is so fast that you will likely continue to see that to happen. Or see that.
Yeah. I mean, they kind of did what we talked about, what they needed to do. And they got outside the tackles with him. They ran a couple outside zones. It wasn't inside because honestly, the O-line did not open up still a lot of holes. I think Singleton's first run of the day, the 11-yard one, was a nice inside run with some holes on it. That was good to see. I think Allen had 1 or 2 nice inside runs later in the game, but these were outside of the tackles, running down the sideline, outrunning everybody runs, these 3 of 44-plus yards. So it's kind of what we expected, I guess, but at the same time, maybe going into next week and beyond, you'd like to see a little more success inside still.
Yeah, I forget if it was, I think it was the 44-yard touchdown run where there were 2 guys that could have had him in the backfield. Yeah. And he just, he out-raced them to the outside. Against Auburn, against Michigan, against Ohio State, that probably doesn't happen, and that might be a 2 to 3 yard loss or, at best. So, we'll have to see how this evolves over the next few weeks, and this week coming is a great test of that. But you're right that they did design for it a little bit more. I think, when Saquon used to take things outside, it was because there were like 12 guys bunched up in the middle where the ball, like inside zone, was supposed to go, and there was just no hole. and that he was forced to do that. But now, like you said, they're designing for outside zone and outside run. There was even a pitch. It went to Kevon Lee instead of Nick Singleton, but that's okay, right? Like that's something. Yeah. So it was good. But Ohio had 8 tackles for loss and 5 sacks, which you don't love that on 17 or 76 plays either. So the line's still not quite there yet.
Yeah, and a couple of those sacks, honestly, were like Clifford. I think in the first half, the one he didn't even have a chance on. The second he took the snap, there were 3 guys in his face. I don't know if they're trying to set up a screen on that play. I couldn't really tell because it just broke down so quick. That one was bad, and then Aller kind of ran himself in a 1 in the second half, which he probably could have got out of. But I mean, so like maybe 2, you could say we're on the quarterbacks, but still 5 against Ohio, not really what you're looking to see before you face a pretty solid defensive line that Auburn has.
Yeah. No turnovers, though. So no fumbles, knock on wood, and still, I guess, just 1 interception in the 2 games. So, not making terrible decisions, and you give up a little bit of a negative play for not having a turnover. Let's plug for the bloggy, Coach Caduti from Full Shear High in North Houston did an excellent review of Aller's game this week and had some, a lot of positives to say about him, but also areas to improve still. So go check that out for the bloggy on YouTube.
Yeah, the best way to put it is Aller has everything physically with just the way he looks to his arm talent, but still learning the reads and that kind of stuff, which it was really nice to listen to, because I think maybe some people who think when Clifford gets sacked with 3 guys in his face that Aller should come in. You watch that video and you're like, okay, it's not as easy as I thought it was maybe, but it was good to see Aller play the whole second half. It was the staff, the starters did their job in the first half, got out to a 19-point lead. And I don't know if in the past the staff has been comfortable with scrapping the starters with only a 19-point lead. I think that says a lot about these young guys, the second team, that they trust them. And, they expanded the lead, honestly. So I thought that was pretty good to see. I mean, 17 different guys caught a pass, which was, I think, more than all of last year.
Yeah. And I wrote it down. 9 wide receivers, 3 tight ends, and 5 running backs. Like, that's crazy, right? So even Tank Smith getting in the game a little bit and catching a pass. So that's pretty good. And Khalil Dinkins with a touchdown, right? Not a great pass from Drew Aller on that one. But if we talk about him just for a second, right? The first touchdown that he threw to, I guess, to Harrison, Evans. Right? Evans. Okay. That was the 45 yards in the air, like no effort whatsoever. That was the most beautiful pass I've seen a Penn State quarterback throw in, I don't know, my lifetime.
That was good. It was the most effortless I think I've seen. We're so used to like McSorley, the smaller guy, kind of putting everything he has into these deep shots, and Clifford's footwork can be off. That was like the most effortless one I think we've seen in a really long time.
And just right on the money. Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah,
that's what everybody wants to play.
There's more to quarterback than talent, though. I think like at running back, you can get away with playing as a true freshman a lot more. So I think it was a good start. At least I'll leave it at that. I think that we should all be happy with the way he looked.
Yeah, for every one Trevor Lawrence that there's a bunch of Braylon Allens and Travion Hendersons and now Nick Singletons, right? It's definitely a lot more unique to have a super duper star quarterback than it is a running back.
Yeah, for sure.
Defense.
It was hard to get a read, I think, on anyone because they rotated so much. I think 22 guys played in the first quarter alone or something crazy like that. Like, they almost went 3 deep on the defensive line. We still didn't see Izzard, and I don't think Smith Filbert played either. Correct. 2 guys that did not play against Purdue. So we'll see if they probably need Izzard for Auburn, because I think you're going to want as many defensive tackles down there as possible. But Chop Robinson looked good early, got a couple rushes. I think he tipped the ball at the line. I was a little late getting in. The security lines weren't too good. I missed the first drive, admittedly, but
I don't know. They did play a lot of guys. When I in the first half had to look at who number 5 was on defense. It's Cam Miller, by the way. Cam Miller. Yeah, he played very early. I was shocked, right? But that, I think that's good at the end of the day. And they're still missing Izzard and Smith Filbert, and hopefully those guys come back, because you need a lot of guys. It's going to be hot in Alabama this weekend and humid, and you want to be able to rotate those folks. I did some analysis today, though, just like because I guess we have been overly harsh on the defense, according to some people. I disagree with that assessment. But for FBS teams who have played 2 games against FBS competition, so I threw out all the FCS stuff. In terms of yards per drive, Penn State right now ranks 22 out of 66. So they're like top third. And they played at least one really good team in Purdue and one, not so great team in Ohio, but still, like they're doing as good as can be expected. And in points per drive allowed, they're slightly better than that. So 19th. So, I don't know. Like they're giving up some yards, not a ton of yards. They're not getting turnovers at the rate you would expect. They're not getting too many tackles for loss and sacks, but they're keeping they're keeping their opponents off the scoreboard fairly well and holding them to relatively low yards per possession. So not bad.
No, not bad at all. And I think the fact that they're rotating so many guys right now, it's hard to get a real read on what the starting unit will look like. Yeah, but rested for next week. I think it was really important that PJ Mustipher and Beeman got some more length to them because they're going to be really counted on next week against those Auburn running backs. So I thought it was good to get them in and out, though, give them some rest, but also give them more action. So really no complaints with the defense, I'd say.
No, and Chop Robinson, what a great pickup, right? Anybody who complains about the transfer portal needs to go look at him and Mitchell Tinsley. And, one more my MVP for the week, I guess special teams only. We'll give Nick Singleton offense. Barney and Moore is the greatest punter to ever live and is like a freaking magician with the ball. Like people say, oh, it's like a sandwich or something, but like it's not a sandwich because he punts it from like many different places on the field and gets the same result every time with the same the same club basically. Just to see it bounce at the one and bounce backwards, you got to give him all the credit for that safety that they got. It's a beautiful thing to watch. Yeah,
the run they're on at punters is honestly more impressive than what they've done at running back lately, it seems. That was good. Speaking of special teams, though, we talked about how we want them to kick field goals this week. Missed field goal, missed extra point. You can get away with that against Ohio next week. That worries me a little. I don't know if they're going to go to Sahaydock or if they stick with Pinnaker, but that is something they at least I think have to look at now because it did not look great.
No, it did not. And after the game, Franklin said he has all the confidence in the world in Pinnaker, which I don't know what to read from that. I'm sure there's a competition this week to figure it out. But I mean, 1 for 2 for what? I mean, what was the miss? It was I don't remember exactly the length. It was a little. I think it was
40 something. It might have been 45, maybe 44.
Yeah, 45, 46. But the PAT miss is bad, right? Because then I don't know. I'm sure confidence goes down. You start getting the yips. And then it just goes all downhill from there. So let's get that straightened out this week.
Yeah. So Penn State survived. A lot of other teams did not this week. The 2 teams that preseason I said were way over ranked, A&M and Notre Dame, both lost at home to a power group of 5 teams. A&M lost to Appalachian State, and then Notre Dame lost to Marshall and lost their quarterback for the season as well. I think he had some kind of AC joint injury or something like that, they said. So they lost, and then maybe the biggest news was that the Scott Frost era at Nebraska finally is over after a home loss to Georgia Southern, which it was an entertaining game, but it's just like you cannot give up 45 points at home to Georgia Southern. It was ugly. I watched the second half when I got home from the Penn State game, but you could just see on the sideline when they didn't score at the end there, he kind of knew he's like, yeah, that was it. Like, and then the next morning they didn't wait. Yeah. They covered up with the start of the NFL season, I guess, but the end of an era there.
Last 10 losses by 1 possession or less, right? So you just think about can't be less, by less than 1 possession. You just can't. You feel bad for them, right? Because that's an unheralded streak.
It is.
And they've only had 2 losses in like the last 10 or 11 games, 2 wins. I mean, one against North Dakota, and then they beat They crushed Northwestern last year, 56-7, and then just a string of heartbreaking losses to really good teams. They lost to Michigan, Minnesota, Purdue, Ohio State, Wisconsin, Iowa, all to end last year. So, tough string, but he just never quite figured it out. after the claimed national championship run at UCF to finish his career there.
Yeah, a lot of people saying he'll be a Nick Saban analyst, which I could see it. We'll see. Yeah, they're 4-11 since the start of last year, and their point differential is like plus 70 something. I think it's insane. It makes no sense. Just way out there. It's definitely an interesting case, something we haven't seen, and there's a lot of names floating around about who's going to take that job. I'll be interested to see who takes it. I don't think it's as good of a job as it was, but they have a fantastic fan base, and you play in the Big Ten West. It's wide open. Your chances, because Wisconsin also lost at home to Washington State. That was another upset.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean that division is wide open every year. So I mean, I think it's a good job. I don't think it's as good as it was, but I still think a decent amount of people would be interested in it.
Yeah, I mean they've not been super relevant since like the mid 90s, right? Eric Crouch kind of days, and Tommy Frazier, which is before that, I guess. But I don't know. They're a traditional, but they're like Florida State, but they've had a resurgence. I don't know how good of a job that is, where that ranks. It is definitely not like Tom Osborne level, or back where it was in the 80s. And recruiting to
where were we?
Back in. Okay, so a little Wi-Fi issue.
Yeah.
Scott Frost.
Yeah.
I was making an excellent point about NIL.
You were.
Nebraska and get them NIL money these days. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, we were going to wrap this one up anyway, honestly, because we wanted to keep it shorter because our preview for the Auburn game is going to be a longer one. Kyle, who is known as All Auburn on Twitter, is going to join us to break that one down. Should be a good one. Going to make a longer one. Tyler should be here. Justin too. Justin's bets. Alabama did not even come close to covering. They almost lost. Pitt and Tennessee slightly hit the under, and Penn State did cover. So the three things we harped on the most, we went 1 for 3 on, I think, but that happens, I guess. So we're going to break this. We're going to end this, not break down. We're going to end this one right now. Please remember to subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. Big episode on Wednesday. We're going to record on Wednesday. Might come out Wednesday night or Thursday morning. Not sure yet. But for Wi-Fi Listen Nate, I'm Alec. Thanks for watching.